Brendan, we just start with some team news ahead of the weekend. How's your team looking after the Tuesday night match?
Yeah, well, hopefully all been well. A couple of little knocks and minor things that the medical team are working with, but hopefully same squad, obviously in a really good place physically and mentally. So yeah, but we've got another day to go, so hopefully all been well.
Some reports that Kilmarnock because the Northern Trustee were training, is that correct? Were there any issues for Sunday?
Yeah, you're absolutely right, they weren't training, but yeah, more sort of precaution really, just giving them that extra little bit. We'd obviously 2 very tough physical days in 4 games, so yeah, they're just doing some light work inside, and then we'll see how they are for tomorrow.
Imagine the team are still flying and still on a huge high for Tuesday night.
Yeah, I think the 4 days from Saturday performance and getting to the League Cup final was a real statement win for us domestically, but then to go into a game of that magnitude against that level of opponent, I've heard it talked about a generational game, which I couldn't argue with that. You know, the performance level, it's something that we've been working towards for the last 12 to 16 months. Obviously going back to last season, you know, our performances against Atletico Madrid and away in Feyenoord when we lost, you know, and I know that people will purely only look at the score, but for me it's about the process and the build up to that, and even partly the Borussia, you know, the Borussia Dortmund game plays a part in that. So, but we've started off the Champions League really well. 3 really good performances out of the 4, but the other night I made me so proud just watching the team and the level of the team and how aggressive we were with and without the ball against a genuine top side. So yeah, it was a great night for the players, for everyone in the club, the supporters. They would have had a glow now for a few days, and rightly so, because their team did them proud. So, but now we're back to our bread and butter and get ready for Kilmarnock. Does
the excitement come as the manager from the fact that it's still quite early on in the season? There could be many more gears to go up. The potential to grow and get even better this season is obviously still there.
Yeah, and I think that's always been my mantra with working with teams and more importantly working with individuals. I said it here over a number of weeks ago, no matter what the scorelines we're winning by, we still have a duty to develop players. So I know that the players will continue to develop, but I think you can't underestimate the confidence that a win like that the other night and the performance in Atalanta in a different way, what that brings to you, and I think for the players, just the level was so high with and without the ball, and that gives us great confidence in going forward. But there's still lots of improvements that the team can make and the individuals can make and will make over the coming months.
So Brendan, is that what your message is to the players after a game? You say like a generational performance on Tuesday night. It's all about kicking on, maintaining that and seeing if you can continue to improve just for the remainder of the campaign.
No, my message, I was just saying that was from other people. My message is we analyse the game, we study the game, and we reinforce with the players the process that we are in and how we're looking to improve. We've been waiting probably as a club and a support base for a performance like that for a while. It's not just to perform, but to win and perform to that level, and we want to sustain that. And I think we've shown in 3 of the 4 games in the Champions League that we're actually a good side. And but we know we've got a lot of work to do. Our first aim was to make the playoffs, and that's still very much the case. But for the players and ourselves, we're very much systematic in our approach. We look at the game, all the areas that we were really good in, you know, reinforcing that. Playing against a team that's renowned for their energy and their pressing and the counter pressing and our physicality overrid a lot of Red Bull Leipzig, which is really, really impressive. So you share that with the players, but you're also looking at where we can improve in the areas that we can be better in.
Looking at the weekend, what challenge do you expect from Kilmarnock?
Always a tough game against Derek's teams. I think when we played them a couple of times in the early part of last season, they were better than us and deserved to win. Once we got to grips with how we were working and our idea and focus, and once in the turn of the year, then when we played, we were obviously in a different place, and obviously come the end of the season, then we were in a really good place. And I would say now we're in an even better place. But that doesn't take away the tariff of the game. It's still going to be very difficult. Celtic teams are always well organised. They're always super motivated, and they will always challenge you. And that's something that we'll be ready for.
You talk about the process that you've been on. Once you've got to that level that you've almost aspired to, does it change for you to maintain it, or does it accelerate it, the confidence they get from seeing how they can perform? Does that help you introduce more things to make them even better?
No, like I said, the process is all about looking to sustain it at that level, and you look to try and do that over numbers of years, not just a couple of games. But it was a big step I felt we made in the last few games, and in particular the one at home, because as I said, the performance when I felt it in the game, but watching it back and seeing the tactical discipline in the team and the work rate of the team and the ambition in the team, but then the absolute quality of which the players, the technical level that they played, and how the speed and the pace in the game and how creative we were. It was so good. And so we had that combination then. Once you do that on the field, Celtic Park is built for performances and nights like that, and you sensed and felt what the crowd thought of it, and that gave it a big energy to the team. So we reflect on it, we move on. We can't wait for the next game in that competition at home again, but before that we've got a couple of really important games.
How many times would you watch that game back generally? You just said you mentioned you were watching it back. Would you watch it just back the once? Have you just watched it back the once? Or?
Yeah, so obviously it's always very difficult after a game to rest and to sleep. So by the time you get home, then you'll watch the game back and take some notes on the game, because initially sometimes you maybe think when you stood on the touchline watching the game that you haven't played quite as good, and then you go back and you watch it back and you actually realise there's so many really good moments in the game, and sometimes it's the other way as well. Sometimes you played really well, but you look back and it's not quite at the level. But yeah, I've watched it once back, and then obviously then you divide it into certain areas that you'd want to improve. But no, just watching the whole game back, it was it's really good to see, because our job was to build a relationship between the training and the games. That's why you watch it back. It's why you analyse it, to see the areas that was very good and the areas that we can improve and correct.
When you had the injuries last season, and when things maybe weren't quite clicking like they are now, was Tuesday night the sort of picture you had in your head of where this team could go when it maybe wasn't quite clicking because of key players missing?
Yeah, well, I think before that, when I sat with Callum in Mallorca and we were talking about the team and where we could take it and where we'd want to get to, and that was my vision of, and a big part of coming back was to bring a team into Europe with the supporters are craving for, and not just to participate but to compete. And but I always knew it was going to be a process of the players gaining confidence in me and me observing them, and of course when it was a challenge in the first period of last season, then of course that it can seem quite distant in terms of what we produce on Tuesday back to them. But that's the game. I think that what we never lost was our focus on our work, our poise, our confidence in what we were doing. And then eventually things start to move in the direction that you want, and then you start to produce better performances and more consistent performances.
It's difficult, Brendan, to go through that stage and that performance on Tuesday night on the grass to now have to revert to a performance on a plastic pitch on Sunday? I mean, how difficult could that be for the players?
Well, that's always the test of you as when you work here at Celtic. You know, you're going to have those highs, or you hope to have those highs like we did in the Champions League, but then you know you're going into your next game, and whether you win, lose or draw, it's those games that get you there in the first place. So no, we will respect the game. We can't have any excuse. We talk about plastic pitches and everything else, but after how we played at the end of last season, to win 5-0 and play at that level, then I can never moan about a plastic pitch again. But our performance was so good. But no, it's just about focus and concentration. You know when you're here that you're going to be in various competitions. You know, we knew we had Hampden on the Saturday. A few days later, we've got a Champions League game, and then we know we've got Kilmarnock. So, but we'll be ready and look forward to it.
Brendan, when you're watching the game back, the press for the second goal, that must have delighted you.
Aye, it's one of my best goals since I've been here. Because everyone loves the nice part of the game, but when you can convince players to do the hard pressing and the hard running and make those last steps inside the press against top quality opposition who are renowned for that themselves, we've already gone through that and showed the players that. We showed it from our analytical angle, and we showed it from an angle from the level behind the goal, where you hear the crowd and you hear how much joy that gives supporters seeing their team press with that hunger and that desire. So the second goal is, I always say if you press well, you pass well, and I think that's been the best game, a demonstration of that on Tuesday night. So the second goal was a great goal.
And the fans even seemed to be even noisier on Wednesday night. And was that their payback for the support that they gave the team in Dortmund after the match?
Yeah, I think that it was a big moment that in Dortmund, I felt, because we all weren't in a great mood after the game, of course, and you know why you're playing. We know, especially here at Celtic, you know, the fan base, it's people's breakfast, lunch and dinner. That's what Celtic is. So we knew it was their life. So to be on the end of that scoreline over there, and then to walk to the supporters and still feel that energy and that support they gave the team, that meant a lot, and that gave a lot of confidence to the players. And obviously we could then come back, reflect back on it, and look to correct the mistakes that we made. So but hopefully and hopefully still they're still feeling that effects of the other night, because that's why we do it. We do it to entertain the supporters, and as I said, Celtic Park's built for a night like that. Big game, big performance, and an absolutely fanatical fan base giving you the energy.
Do you also feel, Brendan, that since Dortmund, the two games afterward, you've kind of made a few critics eat their words as to, you know, some from down south, whenever that Dortmund result comes in, questioning Celtic in the competition or whatnot. Since that, do you feel as if you've, you know, made them eat their words a wee bit?
And up north as well. Don't worry about that. There was plenty up here too.
But do you feel that's came through in these next two games?
I'm not, as I said, you're always going to have critics. Listen, I've had that since I started coaching and moved into management, so it's not going to change. You know, that won't change until I retire. Even then it probably continues. So it's really not, it's mainly about us in here looking to correct and analyse where we can be better. You're always going to have critics, so we understand that, and sometimes it'll be deserved and sometimes it won't, but it's always going to be there. But what's important is how you deal with that, and I've always been one that, you know, there's a way to deal with a setback and try and make sure that didn't define us. And I think it's clear to see the spirit in the group, the quality in the group, and how they've responded to that, because that takes a lot of courage to do what they've done, especially going from Dortmund into Atalanta, who are an absolutely fantastic team, to get that result there. So I think what we've shown is that in this competition this year, that can happen. You can get a doing like that sadly it can happen. It's happened to them in Madrid. But what we've shown is that we can recover, and we're a team that's always looking to develop and improve, and it's my job to keep that spirit, to keep that focus, to allow us to keep improving.
Just on that, Brendan, you spoke about learnings moving into Europe this year, taking what the players have learned from previous competitions and learning from it. In these first 4 games alone, I know you're in the here and now and it's game to game and focused on this competition, but in those 4 games alone, the learnings must be invaluable for Celtic in the future in terms of the results, in terms of performances, and you've had virtually every kind of performance so far in 4 games alone.
Yeah, and I think that's what's needed at this level. You have to be able to. You obviously have a game plan and an idea going into every game and how you want to work, and you want to be true to that. But you're going to have to suffer. Obviously, Bratislava was a great start for us in the competition. Really exciting. Second game was obviously a test, and I said it at the time, and all the things that was talked about, what we didn't do, we never had a chance to. If you look at how we defended against Atalanta and look at how we defended against Leipzig the other night in terms of real organised pressure on the ball, moments to press it really hard, moments to really rest on your pressure, to go again, and then when you had to defend your box, you could do that. I still maintain against Dortmund we never had the chance to do that. The game very quickly got away from us with penalties and worldly goals, so then all of a sudden naturally you become a little bit individual. But Tuesday night is also a part of that process, and we came away from that and again just reiterated what it is we want to do at that level. And Atalanta we didn't quite attack as much as we would have liked, but we showed a resilience and a bravery and a spirit that was clearly there to keep the clean sheet. So it was then the case of, right, well, we know we can do it against a top team like Atalanta. We know against Bratislava we're at home with our supporters, and so we know we have a very vibrant, fast, dynamic team. So let's see, can we pull it together? And Tuesday was the combination of both. So that's what we want to look to produce on a consistent basis.
I know the focus is Kilmarnock on Sunday, but then international break, which can sometimes have scope to upset the rhythm when it is a really busy run. I know it's always busy this year, but no winter break. Is this international break kind of welcomed to a degree?
It is, yeah. It'll be obviously again a busy schedule up until this point. Obviously some of the players will go away and be involved internationally. So big challenges for them, all the travel that they have around the world, and bring them back and look to recover them. But yes, certainly this one will come at a good time after the game, and then we get back and try and synchronise everything as quickly as we can, because we've got some big games, but so many exciting games ahead, but we're all looking forward to them when they arrive.
There's some talk about Alistair potentially being close to getting a new deal. Is there anything you can?
Nothing I can add to that. I've seen something on that basis probably 4 or 6 weeks ago as well. So nothing to add. He's clearly a player, of course. We'd want to tie down, and he's absolutely a fantastic guy to work with, both on and off the pitch. And so hopefully in the future that can be the case.
And Greg, any update on Greg?
Just going to ask the same.
Greg
Taylor
nothing as of yet. Again, a similar message. You see his importance to our game the other night. I think the possibility of having 2 quality players in each position. I think that's what you see in the game the other night. We play Alex in the semi-final, and he does fantastically well. Tuesday night was a different game, I felt, and what we wanted from the game. So I can bring then Greg in, and you've seen the level that he played at, how clean he was, how bright he was, how well he defended, how well he attacked. So he's clearly obviously someone I see as a big part of what we're looking to continue here, and I hope over the coming months that we can do that.
Is your, not fear, but I think it'll be a couple of months before he can theoretically start speaking to other clubs. Is your hope to try and get that nailed down before that opportunity?
Well, hopefully, yeah, because there does come a point where both sides, we have to understand what we're thinking, in terms of, because if it's not going to happen, then okay, we know that we can then plan and prepare going forward. But I really hope it doesn't get to that, because I love working with Greg Taylor. He's played about 186 games here. I can't tell you how influential he is off the pitch, and how good he's been on the pitch for this club. The consistency and also how we play. Both our fullbacks are absolutely critical for us, and how we operate, and they have two totally different functions and how they work. Greg is a specialist in what he does for us, and you see the flow of the team. Like, if you watched the game the other night, Red Bull Leipzig pressing with 4 players, we're getting 5 in our build up. We've got different solutions to get through. He's a massive part of that. So I really hope that we can do something. Plus, I really, really like him. He's such a good guy. He loves being here. Big voice in the changing room. Every single day in training, he's so good. He's focused. He's just married. He'll be a father later on in the year as well. So we want him to really settle down and get everything ready for him. And I just want to continue working with him for as long as I possibly can.